Hello everyone, today I'm going to show you guys how I made this awesome cake. This is called a pink charm caladium. The leaves are made out of wafer paper and obviously the cake is the pot. Today I'm going to take you guys step by step on how to make the leaves, how to make the cake. And if you guys are into caladiums, I have another tutorial which I will place at the end of this video on a different type of caladium I made. To make this beautiful bright pink caladium leaves, I'm going to start off by showing all the supplies that I use to make them. I have my solution, my wafer paper glue. I have a couple of brushes. I have a brush to dust some cornstarch with to stop the saturation. I have a couple of tools as well as my template, which I just went online and I traced over it. I have my wafer paper, a couple of wires, and some sharp scissors to cut out my leaf. Here I'm starting off with some white. I'm also using some burgundy and I'm using pink. I will list all the supplies that I use to make this leaves in the description box. I'm starting off by mixing my colors with the solution. Here I'm using the white and I am mixing the pink with the white to make a lighter, brighter pink. I'm also using the burgundy with the white and mixing it as well to make a different shade of pink. And these are the colors that I'm going to use. I'm going to be doubling up this wafer paper leaves to make it thicker. So that means that I'm sandwiching two pieces of wafer paper together to make a thicker leaf. I'm also adding my piece of wire so I don't have to worry about attaching the wire later on in the process. And here I'm sandwiching in the wire in between the two pieces of wafer paper and continuing to saturate my leaf, keeping in mind how big I'm going to make my leaf and coloring those parts in. With my fluffy brush and cornstarch, I'm dabbing some cornstarch on top of this wafer paper just to stop the oversaturation and doing the same on the back. Placing my paper template on the bottom, I'm going to trace the shape of the leaf. Here I'm using a pencil and I'm doing it a bit darker than I would if I would just be doing it, just so you guys could see the shape of the leaf and you guys could get an idea. And then after that, I'm placing my leaf on top of a silicone mat and I'm going to add the veining of the leaf. Here I did a couple of leaves already, so I kind of know where the veining of goes, so I'm not using the template. But if you were doing this, you could definitely just use the template that you made to trace the veining. You definitely do not need any type of special veiner to do this. It could simply be achieved how I'm doing it here. If you don't have a silicone mat, you do not need a silicone mat. You could just do it over a flat surface and it works as well, just very carefully. And now I'm going to continue to add pink to my leaf. I'm adding different shades of pink while using these two colors. I'm combining them by just using darker shades here and there and lighter shades here and there, not making it one cohesive color. Now that I have laid down some pink or color, I'm just adding a little bit of darker color on top, also here and there, not being very specific on where I'm adding it, just adding just darker shades so you see the contrast and the difference of pink. And then adding my cornstarch again to stop the saturation process. Once my leaf is almost dry but not quite yet, I'm gonna cut it out. And this way, it's when I cut it out and it finishes drying, it's gonna create its own shape while the wafer paper is drying out. It's gonna create curves and it's gonna create ridges, and it's gonna happen naturally without having to do anything, just setting it aside and letting it dry fully. Once my leaf has fully dried, I'm gonna use some of this Wilton burgundy to trace the veins that I made on the leaf with a very, very thin brush. I'm going over with a bit of my light shade of pink on top of these lines just so they're not so obvious and so bright and they blend into the a little bit to the rest of the pink. And now I'm turning over my leaf and adding some of this light pink as well so you don't see the white, and letting it dry again dusting it and setting it aside. To make the cake portion of this, or the pot portion, I used a half dome cake pan. I baked my vanilla cake recipe in it. I have it listed already in my channel. I will list it down below. I'm going to be using ganache and cutting this into 3 different layers. One thing that I like to do when I make these kind of cakes, I like to layer them inside the pan itself. That way it stays nice and layered and straight. So here I'm adding my ganache, and then I'm going to add my next layer, and I'm going to do the same thing for the next layer. I'm going to let it set and crumb coat it and give it its last coat after the crumb coat has set. I'm using this tool to smooth out the dome, and once I was happy with the coating, I placed it in the refrigerator to set again. I rolled out a piece of fondant to make this little sausage like shape on the top, and then I covered my cake completely with fondant. Once I was done covering my cake, I flipped it around, and now I'm going to add another piece of fondant on the very top, a long sausage shape, to make the rim of the pot, connecting it on the very back. And I'm going to add a couple of embellishments, or a couple of decorations with some of my Wilton fondant molds that I have. And then I'm going to airbrush my pot with a shimmery white. I will also be decorating the cake with some of these chocolate little rocks. They're so cute. And I'm going to put them on the bottom of my cake so they look like it's sitting on a pebble tray. I'm going to cover the top with ganache and then add some Oreo cookie crumbs. And for the last part of this tutorial is to put everything together. So here you see these shades of green. I accidentally did not film this part, but it's just some petal dust that I added to the sides of the leaves. Pink Caladiums have shades of green on the edges of the leaves, and that's what I was trying to do as well. Now here I'm just arranging them to how I think they look the prettiest. I hope that you guys enjoyed this tutorial. This is a second tutorial of Caladium wafer paper leaves. I have another tutorial as well on a different type of Caladium, and I hope that you guys enjoy it. And don't forget to give me a like and to go and watch the other tutorial. Thank you for watching.